Have you ever thought of hiring a hitman? It might seem like the stuff of Hollywood movies, but the truth is that there are people out there who are willing to commit murder for money. These hitmen settle scores, eliminate competition, and even silence witnesses. But what about killing spouses? Unfortunately, this is more common than you might think. Don't believe us? Just consider the murder of Dr. Teresa Sievers, a woman who was killed by two hitmen on the orders of her husband. The only silver lining of this disturbing tale is the fact that her husband and the hitmen were eventually brought to justice. But how did this murder play out? What went so wrong in Dr. Sievers' marriage that her husband decided to put a price on her head? How were these criminals caught? Well, let's find out. Dr. Teresa Sievers was 46 years old when she was killed. She lived in Bonita Springs, Florida, and ran a successful holistic medicine clinic with her husband, Mark. After work each day, she returned home to her two daughters. Originally born in Connecticut, she was the valedictorian of her high school class. Teresa later attended medical school and completed her residency at the University of Florida. On June 29th, Dr. Sievers was discovered laying dead on her kitchen floor. She had been bludgeoned to death with a hammer, and her skull had been crushed. The previous day, she had returned home from a family vacation to New York. She had to see patients back in Bonita Springs, so her husband and two daughters stayed behind in the Empire State. But Teresa never made it to her clinic. Eventually, Mark called a family friend, asking him to check in on his wife. That's when his neighbor discovered the body. Horrified, he quickly dialed 911.
911, what is your emergency?
I'm at a friend's house. He's out of town, and I came here to check on his wife, and she's dead on the floor.
Okay.
The address is...
Okay, stay on the line. Oh, sir, hold on, stay on the line.
Yes.
Okay, you're doing very well. Good job. Just a moment, we're going to connect you. They're going to ask for the address. MLS Fire, what is the address of the emergency? Okay, and is that a house or an apartment, sir?
The house.
Tell me exactly what happened.
My friend, she's a doctor. I'm a doctor. She came home last night. Her husband is in Connecticut, and she was supposed to go to work at 9 o'clock. She called me, and I was on my way into work, so I swung by, and she's dead on the floor. And there's a hammer at the side, and she's bashed in the back of the head.
Stay on the line with me. Sheriff's office, are you on the way? Yes, we are. Okay. All right, and so you said you're a doctor?
Yes, I am.
Okay, are you with her now?
I'm outside of the house because I don't know if there's anybody in the house.
Okay. All right, so how old is she?
She's 50-ish, 47-ish.
All right, sir, and is she awake?
No, she's dead on the floor. She's cold.
And
the back of her head is bashed in, and there's blood everywhere.
Okay. All right. So I do have paramedics, fire department, also law enforcement is on the line with us. Okay, they're going to be going out, okay?
Okay,
So I want you to stay on the line one moment. Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here till I get here because I don't know if anybody's still in the house.
Okay. All right.
Was right.
All right. Just stay on the line, okay? The sheriff's office has questions, and they're going to counsel you on what to do next.
Okay. Sir, are you inside the residence then?
No, I'm not. I'm standing in the driveway.
Okay. And then when you walked inside the house, you said the blood was dry, or what did you say?
Yeah, half the blood is dry, half is wet. And she's cold. She's dead cold.
Okay, and there's the hammer sitting next to her, and you had left it, and did you touch anything?
No, I did not touch anything. I touched her, I shook her a little bit, and she got cold.
All right, one moment. You're doing really well. So the last time you had seen her is what time?
Probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay, and you said she returned today?
I don't know when she came back, but she was supposed to go back. She was supposed to go to work today at 9 o'clock. I knocked on the front door, and nobody answered. And the lights were on. I could see her purses on the countertop, and she didn't answer. I pounded, and he gave me the key code to get into the garage door. I opened the garage door, and the door leading into it was open. One of the dogs ran out. I don't know if he left or not. And I walked in. I just opened up the door, or walked in the door, and she was dead on the floor. And there's a big bash in the back of her head.
Okay, is the vehicle at her house or no?
The vehicle is at her house, yes, in the garage. The garage door was closed.
Okay, and when you left, did you left the same way you entered, or did you leave the front door?
No. I touched her, and I just freaked out, and I walked outside.
Okay, when you walked outside, did you walk out the front door, or did you walk back out the garage door?
Back out the garage door, and I closed the door because the dogs were in there.
Okay, and so you were there because they asked you to take care of the house, is that correct?
Whatever.
And he received a call from work saying she wasn't there?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, he's her office manager.
Oh, she's the office manager of his business?
No, he's the office manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where is he right now?
I believe he's in Connecticut.
And you didn't see anything else, I mean, other than...
No, I didn't go in the house. I'm afraid somebody's in the house. I mean, somebody killed her.
Right.
I mean, it's a murder. Right? She's bashed in the back of the head.
Okay.
You know, I can't see her falling or anything like that. I just looked and I thought, my God, she's my friend.
Right, exactly. And you're doing a fantastic job. I'm sure they're going to have a little bit further, more questions and everything for you. You're doing great, okay?
Okay.
All right, I did let them know that you're outside.
The fire guys are here.
Okay, great.
And she's dead.
Upon arrival, police immediately started asking questions about the murder scene. Why hadn't any valuables been taken from the house? Why was $40,000 in cash still lying in the safe, untouched? Clearly, this wasn't a burglary, which would suggest that the murder was personal. Although their thoughts first turned to Mark, they quickly crossed him off their suspect list. After all, he was in New York when the murder happened. In the end, detectives were forced to throw up their hands in defeat, with prosecutors later describing the incident as the perfect crime. Although the police were well and truly stumped, they were about to get a lucky break. About 2 weeks after the murder, an anonymous tipster called them and stated Curtis Wayne Wright had admitted to killing Dr. Sievers. As police looked into Wright's background, another man drew their attention, Jimmy Ray Rogers. They called in both men for questioning, but as you would expect from two career criminals, they refused to say anything to the police about the murder. Jimmy remained defiantly tight-lipped, seemingly mocking the police at times.
Against the whole engaging thing, you know what I'm saying? If you want to talk, we can talk. You can only stop when you want to stop. So.
I don't want to talk because it's like,
you want to listen? You want to listen?
I don't mind listening.
Huh?
I'm good listening.
By the time Curtis Wayne Wright was interviewed, the police already had a pretty good idea of what had happened. Still, the hitman refused to confess.
Because I know what he did. And I'm pretty sure, I think I got it kind of figured out, that as much as you look like Mark wasn't supposed to be in the neighborhood that weekend. So there's a good chance maybe you were a lookout and Jimmy slipped in ahead of time and was waiting for Teresa. Because you knew how it was going to be. You knew the code to the garage. You knew her timeline because you and Mark negotiated this. You talked about it back in May, and you had a nice plan, and it made sense. And maybe not May, but I know it. Here's what I do know, Wayne. It was planned out. and Teresa's dead. Teresa has 2 little girls that deserve to have answers and justice. They will never be fulfilled with anything I do. There will always be that empty hole in their heart, which is terrible because they don't know the world yet, but this is their impression of the world. But even then, when they spoke about their mama at that funeral, and the maturity and the specialness and the purity of that age, it shows, like you said, Mark is an excellent father.
They're incredible little girls.
And that's the irony of the situation. In his attempt to protect his relationship with them and not lose them, he ended up losing them because they're going to find out. They're going to find out what Dad did. And he could try to explain it away and say, well, I got drunk and I talked to Wayne about it, and I think Wayne just took steps on his own because he cares about me and this is where we're at. He's going to blame you. He's going to blame Jimmy. I don't even know if he knew about Jimmy ahead of time. I think he just asked for your help, and you recruited Jimmy. Either way. Now's the time.
Either way. It's neither way. But
Neither way. Well, what do you think happened then?
honestly, I don't know what happened. I think, based on everything that I've seen in the news, that...
What's the news, man?
Oh,
Don't trust the news. The news is silly.
I know.
They're making up stuff.
But it's, the stuff with all these doctors being killed,
we researched them, and that's fabrications. They're not being killed. One killed himself. One was a natural death. Teresa was a murder.
In the chest.
Yeah, well...
With a shotgun.
I know.
And it fell in the river.
I know.
No.
Yeah, I've worked on it before. You know why they do it there? They want to protect their face for the funeral. It's vanity. Where it's just too intimidating to feel the steel against their face. I've worked these before. That's exactly how it went. Either way, we're dealing with this right now. This is not a doctor homicide. Even the most creative screenwriter is not going to pitch the Hollywood motion picture about there's a doctor serial killer out there and it's not you, because I have you there. I have you at the scene. I have you getting supplies for the scene. I have you on tape. I have you with Jimmy. It's a done deal. It's all wrapped up together in a bun. Did you guys do a pretty decent job with the scene? Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. I could tell that you guys thought about this. You talked about it. You're like, this is the best way to do this. This is the best way to do that. We'll make this look like that, and we'll make this look like this, and it's logical. However, next time you're going to simulate something like that, you may want to show that shit was stolen. Or it was loaded up, ready to go by the front door or side door, and make it look really good. You were close, but it was so close to being good, but it didn't work out. You do know what I'm talking about, Wayne, and I want this to resonate with you. This is a real thing. This is really happening. You were coming to Florida against your will, or maybe you want the trip. You were going to be tried.
This is a very skilled interrogator, as he doesn't put too much pressure on Wright, but at the same time, he's pressing all the right buttons. The detective is relating to him that he is playing the good cop, while simultaneously making it crystal clear that Wright is completely screwed. And just a note, Curtis Wright and Mark Sievers are two totally different people, despite the fact that they look almost identical. In the end, there was simply too much evidence stacked up against the criminals. GPS data from their rented car put them at the scene of the murder. Jimmy's girlfriend had told police he had confessed to killing Dr. Sievers, and she even showed them where he had thrown away his bloody clothing after the murder. Of course, it was only a matter of time before Mark was implicated. Police were suspicious from day one, but there were a number of factors that made Teresa's husband a genuine suspect. First of all, he and Curtis Wright were childhood friends. Second, they discovered that Mark and Teresa were on the verge of getting a divorce, although Teresa's mom obviously had no idea about this.
Okay. How do you describe a marriage with Mark?
They were a happy couple. They were a happy couple. I mean, she used to get upset with him because he kept his office a mess, but she finally realized that was always going to be Mark, But, she knew that, they were together for life.
Right.
They were together for life.
Did she ever talk about leaving Mark or divorcing him?
No. Not that I'm really aware of.
Okay.
Not really aware of. I mean, Teresa had a violent temper, but she was very I can't use the right word.
I heard she was a firecracker.
Animated. She was a firecracker. That's a good word. Yeah. And so she used to get upset when he did something that she disapproved of. And the last thing I can think about was when they were leaving. She always liked to leave the house neat. And he was always the cleaner-upper in the kitchen. I mean, because she always had so many things to do. And she always didn't want to come home to a messy house. And as they were getting ready to leave, there was a dirty frying pan in the sink. And she went ballistic. Because she just, I don't want to come home to that. The pie in the stove, And he's, I know. I just have it soaking there, So I don't know whether it was ever left there, whether he ended up cleaning it and putting it away, but she did make that comment that he left the frying pan there. And he knows better. He knows better to do that. That's, she was just, it's just the way she was. I mean, we're a very vocal family, And, sometimes she would argue with me about something because I wasn't intuitive enough to understand everything she was trying to do for me, because she always said to me, "You're not dying on my watch. I'm going to keep you alive, Mom." Because she can keep me alive now from heaven. But, she sometimes didn't understand. I just sometimes didn't understand everything she was trying to do for me, But she just had a heart of gold. And, yeah.
What about her finances? How are her finances?
She was very generous. She was a doctor, but you would never know it by looking at her home and everything. She gave away probably more than anybody I had ever known. Donated to this, donated to that. They had a very simple life. Very simple life.
Did she ever loan any money from anybody?
Pardon me?
Did she ever loan any money from anybody?
Did she loan to other people?
Get loans from other people?
That I wouldn't know. Other than what they would borrow for their business.
Not from banks, but from...
from people?
Yes.
No, people borrowed from her.
Mm.
Or she gave money to people, never paid her back, and she never cared.
Do you know who the names of some of those people?
But the real nail in the coffin for Mark was his downright awful acting talent. He was later mocked as the crying man by the media, and the police were not convinced of his performance. See for yourself.
Teresa, I love you, honey. Strength. Okay.
Mark knows he's being filmed, and he begins to act almost immediately, repeating his wife's name, sobbing, and telling himself to be strong.
The testimony about the giver is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Okay, you can lower your right hand, sir. Just for the record, state your name one more time for me.
Mark Sievers.
And what is your relationship to Teresa Sievers?
Her husband.
Okay. And how long were you two married?
That was good.
It's okay, take your time.
Mark can't even say his own name without breaking down into fake tears.
How long? She got home around 11:30. I'm doing the timeline. Can you tell me when she died? I need to know what she tortured was, what happened to her.
We can't tell this stage.
Another attempted performance. The interrogator is not impressed.
I can't recall.
Just have a think about it for a second, Mark. I'm just going to... do you want a glass of water or something?
No, how much longer are we?
It shouldn't take too much longer.
Can you tell me time?
It's 10 to 1.
No, you gotta get out of here.
Well, I'm just going to go and see... I'll be back in a couple of seconds.
Who has a key to the house? My mom?
Mark seems eager to get out of the interrogation room, which isn't exactly what you'd expect from a concerned widower. When left alone, Mark begins his routine once again. He's clearly aware that he's on camera, and he utters prayers to Teresa. The whole thing seems extremely over-rehearsed. After a short break, another detective steps into the room, the same skilled interrogator we saw earlier.
Through it?
Yeah, but she had so much to offer though.
Despite Mark's theatrics, the detective remains calm. If he believes Mark is lying, he certainly isn't showing it. During the rest of the interview, the detective asks Mark about his marriage and whether there was any infidelity. He asks Mark whether he knew of anyone who could have done this, and of course, Mark says he doesn't know. One of the interrogators later stated, "We've met a lot of people who have lost a loved one, and he seemed fake. I saw a lot of simulated favor. It didn't seem real." With all that said, Mark wasn't treated like a suspect at this point, but that was about to change. Facing the rest of his life behind bars, Curtis Wayne Wright decides to confess to the murder and implicates Mark in the process. He receives a shortened sentence of 25 years in exchange for his confession, and finally, the truth comes out. Mark paid to have his wife killed.
I guess it really started probably about 6 months before the crime. Mark had asked me, he brought it up in a way that it was like that somebody that he knew was having a problem with, and asked me if I knew anybody that, might be interested. I think he actually worded it like taken care of, but I think what he was really talking about was like just having somebody beat up or something like that. Is at least that's what my impression of it was. When I was younger, I knew people that did that kind of thing. So, and Mark knows that. I think that was the reason that he asked me back to PK's to pick up that. And while we were alone in the car, he started talking more in depth about what was going on. He told me that, that was kind of the straw that broke camel's back. We talked about kind of what was, he said that he couldn't let that happen. What he felt was options.
If you notice a slight hiccup in the footage, it's because part of Curtis's testimony has been edited out. The redacted footage involves Mark's children. When Curtis says he couldn't let that happen, what he's referring to is an impending divorce and the loss of custody. Since Dr. Teresa had access to more funds, Mark believed that she would win the custody battle and take his kids. This was one of his main motives for the murder of his wife. Testimony involving minors is always redacted in this manner.
That he couldn't let that happen. What he felt was options, and he came straight out and said that he wanted to have her killed. So he asked me if I would help him. If there was either help him do it or help him find somebody to do it. So I asked him what kind of time frame he was looking at. He said ASAP. So it was something apparently had progressed to the point where it was closed. So it didn't talk about exactly when. It said it had to happen really soon. He also said that there were opportunities for it to happen for where she worked at.
From there, it all went downhill. Mark's lawyers pushed back against Curtis's confession, claiming that the hitman couldn't be trusted. He was, after all, an admitted murderer, and he had lied to the detectives earlier in the investigation. But the jury wasn't convinced, and Mark was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Despite his daughter's pleas to spare his life, The court sentenced him to death in 2020. As of the publishing of this video, he is currently awaiting his death penalty in the Florida State Prison System. Jimmy Rogers was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. On the surface, you might assume that Mark, Jimmy, and Curtis were cold-hearted murderers, but the interrogation footage paints a more nuanced picture. Curtis and Jimmy may have had criminal roots, but they don't seem like your typical hitmen. They were guilty of a horrific crime, no one can deny that. But in their own twisted way, they were also trying to help out a friend in need. This wasn't just about money, it was about a man in a desperate situation. A man who would do anything to avoid losing his children. And unfortunately for Dr. Teresa, this was a man who could call upon friends who were willing to help him do anything, even the unthinkable. Ironically, Mark's crime means that he will never get to spend time with his daughters ever again, and soon enough, he will be gone from this world forever, leaving both of his children orphaned. In the end, the daughters are perhaps the real victims of this entire story. Their lives will never be the same, and they will carry the painful memories of this incident forever. The good news is that they were adopted by their grandmother, so they still have at least one caring family unit left. Perhaps most importantly, this story shows you just how dangerous a breakup can be. Even mentioning the word divorce can and has led to murder.